Is the shiur start already? Anybody know?
Here. Shmuel. Here. Shmuel is on, by the way.
Huh? Oh, Shmuel is on? Wow. All the way from Israel?
Good
Wow.
afternoon. Yeah.
Wow. Shukar for joining us.
I'm zeichet to do kibbutz and learning at the same time.
Amazing.
What, it's 5 o'clock now? There.
The Rav Shalom.
Your mother should know what kind of mishtatif in the shir you are. That 15 years you never miss a shir. Huh?
Sie redt ganz gut Jiddisch.
So in 15 Jahren, jede Nacht, noch nicht verfällt das Shir.
Sehr gut, soll manches sein. Also, das ist mein ganzer Vergnügen.
Der Vater hat ja solche gute Einklach. Der Vater hat
zu lernen.
Doch er hat mal Sachen nachher mit Shem von seinen Kindern eine Klach und von allen Kindern eine Klach.
Amen. Nein. Und hier von allen eine klar.
Amen.
Sie
Okay.
haben eine Sie haben
Yeah.
Deze tijdje.
Yeah.
Das ist der Chosen. Okay. My hating. Yeah. I'm listening.
Huh? No water. I already have my coffee. Okay. Let's start. There's a few questions that people asked about the 9 days. I first covered the questions that people asked about the 9 days. The first, I'm just, is not in order of importance. Just someone asked about nail clipping. So there's an interesting thing, which is that this year there's a sort of an achdus between Sfardim and Ashkenazim when it comes to the 9 days. Shulchan Aruch says in Siman Tov Kuf Nun Aleph, which is most of the halachos of the 9 days, that there's a machloikis between us, the Machaber and the Ramah, the things that we don't do, which is not to tispoides and kiboises, not to do laundry and not to wash and not to take a haircut, then all these things that we don't do, and the minute that we don't eat meat and drink wine, all these things that we don't do in the 9 days. So the Machaber says it's Shavua Shechor by Tisha B'Av. It's the week of Tisha B'Av, and that's what the Sfardim do and the Ashkenazim do all 9 days. Now, what happens in a year like this year, when Shabbos is Tisha B'Av and it's Nidcheh to Sunday? So in Sif Dalet, there's a Machloikis. The Machaber brings the first opinion that this year there is no such thing as a Shavua Shechor by Tisha B'Av, because which week are we talking about? This week is not Tisha B'Av. And the calendar, Shabbos is Tisha, but it's not really Tisha B'Av. But the other opinion says no, that it is Tisha B'Av. Elamai, it's Nidcheh to Sunday. Okay, so the Mela, that's the Shaila. Shaila is there 9 days? Lepoil, the Rebbe brings a beautiful of the Avnei Nezer and the Rogachover and Maram Shik, that they say that the question comes down to interesting lomdus. The question comes down to interesting lomdus. When Chazal said if Tisha B'Av is going to be in Shabbos and it's Nidcheh to Sunday, is the pshat that the original takana was that most years we fast on Tisha B'Av, and on Tisha B'Av Shabbos we fast on Asiri B'Av. Or the pshat is no, they for convey on Tisha B'Av. Elamai, technically you can't fast on Tisha B'Av, so we're mashlim the tanis on the Sunday. My nafkaminas, several nafkaminas. Well, one of the nafkaminas is this: when is the week of Tisha B'Av? If you say that this week is Shabbos is Tisha B'Av, technically you can't fast on Shabbos, so we fast on Sunday. but this Shabbos is Tisha B'Av. Look at the calendar; it's Tisha B'Av. So therefore, it's Shavuot Shechal b'Tisha B'Av. Is a Mamela Disfardim that do the things only in the Shavuot Shechal b'Tisha B'Av. So this is Shavuot Shechal b'Tisha B'Av. If you say that this Shabbos is B'chal not a fast, it's not Tisha B'Av. It's Shiva B'Av. To the calendar, it looks like it's Tisha B'Av. It's Shmoyna B'Av. It's not. It's fake. It's really Tisha B'Av is on Sunday. So this is not Shavuot Shechal b'Tisha B'Av. The Rebbe brings a beautiful raya to one of the tzdadim here. The Ramah seems to just not be machliya between the two opinions. Later, the Shulchan Aruch says that if the Machaber and Shulchan Aruch says that if a Tisha B'Av is like this kvius and it falls out that Shabbos and you doich it Sunday and you have a bris, then you could break your fast, the Bali bris, and they're not mashlim the fast. They're roichitz and they're boida yem godel, the mincha gedoyla. And they break the fast, which is the father, the mother, the sandik, the moil, but not if it was only because it's nidcheh. So it sounds like that it's not the real fast. Had it been the real fast, what's the difference? Mashma that really Tisha B'Av is on Tisha B'Av. Alamai with doichet. So if that's the case, it's mashma that the Machaber really was machriya more on the side that this Shabbos is the real Tisha B'Av. This Shabbos is the real Tisha B'Av. So Mamela, as I said before, this year Sfardim and Ashkenazim is ba'achtus. Ba'achtus is always going to bring Mashiach. That whatever we're doing this whole week, Sfardim and Ashkenazim are doing the same thing exactly. Not bathing. Bathing is only if it's for pleasure. A little bit today, we're a little bit makel in bathing, but not to take a haircut and not to eat meat like the minig and drink wine like the minig, and not to do laundry. All these things that we don't do.
Said the Shulchan Aruch is two opinions.
But later the Shulchan Aruch says that I'm bringing a raya that the Shulchan Aruch was more on the side of the opinion that this Shabbos is really Tisha B'Av.
I know Sasan.
So Lamaisa for us, for Ashkenazim, there's one nafkamina that sounds from there's a machloikis if you're allowed to clip your nails on the 9 days. It's mashma that even those that are oised that say it's mitzad that's only in the Shavuot Shechol by Tisha B'Av.
Yeah.
So for us, it would be an afkamina in this question, but it sounds like that the Shulchan Aruch later decided that the Shabbos is really the fast, and Sunday is only a nidcheh, is only a dechiyah. So therefore, you're not allowed to do nail clipping. Let's read it inside from the Mishnah Berurah and the Taz. Well, there's an interesting thing that I found. The Ben Ish Chai says that Alpi Kabbalah, if your nails grow above your skin, it's a place of achilles haklippah, and it's very important to clip your nails. So even if it's the 9 days, you're allowed to clip your nails. Yeah. If it grows past the skin, if you go like this, and if you can't go like this, I don't know, you got to go like this with your other finger. If it gets stuck with your nail, no, like this. If you get stuck with the nail, then you got to clip it. Anyway, let's read it quickly inside. The Taz says, "Neither the huadin atilas the parnaim the also b'shavua zav l'kaydam l'zamuter." And you see in the Taz even that says it's also it's mitzvah the shavua the week. Afila l'fi mashanoga yisef etispoidus min shiva also b'tamus k'mash koser ramav b'sivdalad makomakim atilas the parnaim kil tvei. Even though our minig is not to take a haircut in all 3 weeks, but you're allowed to clip your nails. But this week you're not allowed to clip your nails. The Mishnah Berurah brings in the until Sapanayim. Yesh days ben acharonim. Ochel tzedek tefillas mitzvah. If a woman has to go to the mikveh, bevada shori. V'chein lekavit Shabbos. Shori be'erev Shabbos liptala tziparnayim. So if you didn't get a chance to clip your nails, either you could do it this Friday, lekavit Shabbos, or if it's too long, you could rely on the Ben Ish Chai to cut it. So anyway, to summarize everything we said till now. The Machlokas Sfardim and Ashkenazim. If this year you have a thing as Shavuot Shechol by Tisha B'Av, I realize I still have more copies. I thought I didn't have that
What
many.
does Sfardim do Lamaisa?
They only I don't know. I don't know what Sfardim do.
So it's not here. So
Right. So I don't know.
He's not tuned in. He's also in Israel.
Yeah, but he's not tuned in. So again, let's summarize. There's the Machlokas Ashkenazim and Sfardim. The things that we don't do in the 9 days is it like we do the 9 days or Shavuot Shechol by Tisha B'Av. The question this year, is there such a thing as a Shavuot Shechol b'Tisha B'Av? The question is it a dechiyah or is it that the fast is really not on Shabbos? So So the answer is, it sounds from Shulchan Aruch that really the fast is on Shabbos. So it's Nidcheh to Sunday. So therefore, this week has a very special chumrah that it's Shavuot Shechol by Tisha B'Av. There's a beautiful, you know what, let's talk about Inyan Ruchni at the end. Let's talk a few more shilas. Someone called me, they're building a house. They're living now in a house, but they're building a new house, the middle of construction. The contractor is Jewish, and he wants to know about the 9 days. Could they build the 9 days? Now, the din is it's also. Shulchan Aruch says, you're not allowed, you have to be mamad. Masa matan is business, and the Mishnah Berurah says that we can't be mamad in the business, we got to pay the bills. So, but binyan shel simcha we're mamad. So the Mishnah Berurah says, who then called binyan she'ein tzarich l'dirasa actually oisken l'arbacha be'alma. Any building that he doesn't need it for living, it's a l'arbacha also. So it sounds like that if you already have a house to live in, you're just making an extension, or you have a house to live in, but you're building a different house, that you're not allowed to do it in the 9 days. The nocher adayt nafshe avet vodim im kotzes im nocher bekablonos l'tzayir beisay muter l'tzayir metamze. Kama kem yochel l'faisa bedavim mut sham tem achar Tisha B'Av tov l'brach. Basic nesses muter davim mitzvah derab. So if you could give the guy a few dollars, and the guy will be willing to walk away from the job, so then you're obligated to do that. Problem is, I know that the person's going to ask the question. He doesn't have to give the contract. So first of all, the person that asked the question was the contractor was Jewish, but the workers are all subcontractors. So the simple din of Shulchan Aruch is you have to ask them. The goyim are willing to walk away from the job. You're mechuyev even to give them a few dollars to try to. The problem today in New York and in most places that they're not even going to take a few dollars. Because contractors take more jobs than they can do. And if the Yid is going to tell them that I don't need you this week, and they're going to say b'chovet gadol. When are we going to see you again? Don't worry. The day after Tisha B'Av, 9 o'clock in the morning, you're going to see us. Exactly. Furthermore, the person that asked me said that the subcontractors a whole summer they're waiting for them, and they're not here. Amaisa Sutton, they showed up on Thursday, and they said this week they're mamish, they're available for the whole week. So you understand that he's going to tell them that they shouldn't come this week, and then he's going to call them after the week. Why are you not coming? That we had an available week. There couldn't be a bigger hefsid than that. There couldn't be a bigger hefsid than that. So I said he's allowed to have the contractors work on the 9 days. So we tricked the Sutton over here, because the Sutton sent the workers because it was a Yid. But anyway, then I found that the El Yad Abbas is an interesting thing. The El Yad Abbas says, "Hu adin kol binyan shul noyel arvocha." You're not allowed to do. Then he says, "Loy nochem letzar ben kol hametzarim hoil the kotzimoy v'hischil yigmer v'myochel lechatoyse b'davar mut achatisha b'avtolim v'bracha." So the El Yad Abbas is making it clear that this idea, you should try to bribe him with a few dollars, he should not come back, is only if he's painting a painting for you. But if he's actually building a building for you, even if it's laravocha, you're not mechuyev to ask him to come back after the 9 days. Why the El Yad Abbas doesn't explain why he says that? Could be is really the Achronim says the Machloikes Deran and the Rambam. If this is called a binyan simcha, if you make a nice fancy painting, that's tzir v'kir. But if you're building a second house, is that called binyan simcha? Yes or no? So Machloikes. So l'chatchila we should be machmer. But now that you have already a goy who's mekablonus, especially today in New York, that you're going to tell them to walk away. He'll see you next year, Tisha B'Av, and the sky forth. You know, when you have when you're doing a job, there's a huge hefset that could be that if they don't, then this winter comes and the plumbing and the electricity and this and things start busting. They don't care. It's your money. It's not their money. So therefore, I said to have the contractors come.
What about building the shul?
No, he said the shul is different. It's a mitzvah derabah. It's different. That's what he said.
for a school or anything
Right,
like that.
yeah. Someone asked, he forgot to put in his cleaners, and he's going on vacation the day after Tisha B'Av. Vozelmenton. Someone else asked, a boy just asked, he's getting a matona, and is he allowed to open it on the 9 days to see the matona that he got? Someone else asked, is he allowed to go to Eichler's and buy svarim in the 9 days? So I said I'll look into it. The emissaries, the Shulchan Aruch says, you're not allowed to engage in things of simcha. So the Pashtus, a father also asked me, he's allowed to give his son a gift in the 9 days. So obviously, a father has to judge, based on what we'll just say. But the thing is like this: Matam b'simcha means not only things that today technically there's a thing of shechionu. Today we don't make shechionu on most. If we buy just a book, but we buy a jacket, even we don't make shechionu because to us it's a different culture. In those days, Chalifas begodim, Asara Chalifas begodim. The Chumash tells us, Yosef gave to Binyamin was a big deal. But today it's not so true. So even if we don't make a shechionu, I think everyone. It's a dava posture today that no one buys any of these clothing on the 9 days, and because it's a dava shel simcha. The question is,
What about a separate?
So 1 second. So question is, a gift to a child. So it's a dava shel simcha. So if the child is already in the age that he knows how to be misabel for Yerushalayim, so he has to know that he shouldn't open up the gift in the 9 days. And the father that asked about giving the gift, the same thing. If the child is in the age of, it's a learning moment. It's a learning moment. I just want to divert for a second. This is something that ran into me. When my first child was, she was a baby, and I was once there was a certain, and there was a principal of a school of Beis Yaakov. And these things went so deep into me. She said something that she said, I'm teaching kids for many years, and we put in values in the children, and then it flushes down the toilet bowl in a second. What happens? They're standing at the gate of Great Adventures, and they ask how old, because the chvei is under 3 years old, admission is free. I'm just so they ask how many kids are under 3, and the parents lie. They say a kid that's 5 years old or 4 years old is under 3. So she was a principal, and the kids hears it. So this woman said that all the work we put in the administration and the teachers, and the whole idea of Beis Yaakov is to give midas tovas to the girls, b'derech haTorah. It all goes flushing down the toilet. You pay tuition, zakzi kach v'kach. And to save $34.99, you flush down the toilet bowl, all the chinuch you paid for the whole year, all the kaiches we put in. So what does the kid see? That letzoidech, you're allowed to lie, letzoidech. So it really had, sometimes you hear a musa or it goes into you, that it's true. It's mamish true. If the kids, the kids see also, like last night the kids were discussing about Malva Malka, because we send them to school and they have all kinds of, we call draconian rules, including the size of the mother shekel. So our kids wanted to know if we ever, because other kids said that their parents they fib on the so we told our kids chas v'shalom, which is true. We don't lie. What we don't do, we don't say. Never, ever. We told the kids that, and it's true. We never lie. It doesn't matter if it costs a few more dollars, and it doesn't matter if the administration school will call us in and ask us how you talking this and that. But we're not. This is so the same thing here. It's a teaching moment. If your child has a gift, so taka, if there's then the age to be misabel Yerushalayim, they should learn that mishnich misav matam b'simcha. But the thing is that l'choira, there's a strong svara to say that if you're buying tzitzis, you're buying a tefillin, it's not mitzvah slavli honesnit. Mitzvah slavli honesnit. If you're buying a sefer, the Rosh says, how do we keep the mitzvah of kisvu lachem sashir azois by buying svarim today? That's what the Rosh says. So mitzvah slavli honesnit is a very strong svara to say that you're allowed to. So I looked. It's not that hard today. You just do a search and a search and a search, and I found like a pamphlet from Rebbe Yitzchak Yaakov Fuchs, and he asked the Shaila. He says, "By Sayed Reb Shlomo Zalman Auerbach and Sayed Rav Eliyashiv," and they told him that to buy Svarim that you need to learn in the 9 days. Tzitzis, film, mezuzah, you're allowed to. So okay, so very nice. I would just have a little tzarechiyun on the tzitzis part, because tzitzis is not really a mitzvah. If a person has a talus, you could say, look, today a Yiddish Shemaim shouldn't walk around, especially if he doesn't have another pair of tzitzis. So what is he going to do? He's not going to walk around. So if you have another pair of tzitzis at home and just want to buy a new one, I would say you should wait till after the 9 days. It's not like film. It's not mamish. You're buying a talus. You're buying a talus. A talus that has arba kanfas needs to have tzitzis. But if you're buying tefillin or you're buying svarim, so you're really buying a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah to buy svarim, and you're doing with that the mitzvah of kisra lachem sashir azoy. So mitzvah slav lahonis mitzvah should be mutter. That's the answer. Now the question that the person asked,
It's mutter for what?
to buy anything which is a mitzvah, not for your personal pleasure. So if you're buying a book, which is to learn halachos, so with that you're doing the mitzvah of kisra lachem sashir azoy. So you want to say something?
I was just saying, especially if you're buying a sefer about the halachos of Tisha B'av, or
For sure. Then you need it for right now. You can't buy it after Tisha B'av.
Yeah.
You say about one of the big tzaddikim that used to buy a kinnis, Rabbi Yisrael Ruzhina, maybe. There's a few beautiful stories about Rabbi Yisrael Ruzhina with Tisha B'av, but maybe I'm mixing up. But one of the big tzaddikim that every year he used to buy a new kinnis, and after Tisha B'av he used to put it in Shemus. He said the next year I don't need it for next year. They do that. That but it's named. It's because of this big tzaddik. I'm mixing up because the Ruzhina, there's another story that the Ruzhina, there's a story that they in his base medrash and Tisha B'av, the certain Tisha base medrashim, they used to do things in Tisha B'av to make it a little lebedik. In Chabad they still do it a little bit. It can get a little bit annoying. Like what? They used to have in the country. I remember when we were kids, when we went, they used to have these beralach, these things from the bushes. They used to throw it. I become a balagan a little in shul, but it's a little break up the avela. So the Chassidim over there they wanted to pull a shtick. So they made by the entrance when you come in that the next person coming to base medrash, he thinks he walks in and there's a board, and all of a sudden he's going to flying up to the roof. There were 4 strong people standing on the roof with ropes, and the next person that comes in goes flying up. I was like, you walk, you go flying, and they thought it's going to be so funny. Everyone's going to crack up in the middle of Tisha B'av. So I'm telling you, that's an old minhag chassidim. It's a funny thing. There's a story again divert about Shmuel Munkus that was doing such shticks on Tisha B'av, and his chaver Reb Aaron Karlina, I think Shlomo Karlina, one of them that came to visit him was on Tisha B'av, and he saw the Shmuel Munkus doing this stuff on Tisha B'av, and he said, because of such people, we have the Churban Beis HaMikdash. The Alter Rebbe didn't say anything, and after in the afternoon, the Alter Rebbe said, I want to talk to you, and then I want to go with you in the forest. So they started talking about Indian, about the Churban Abayis. They walked into the forest. They walked. All of a sudden, there was a person that was like in a pit, and there were ants or bees biting him, and they're crying, and he's crying. Shlomo says, for such people, there's going to be the binyan Beis HaMikdash. The Alter Rebbe said, look at his face. Notice it was the same person. It was the same Reb Shmuel Munkus that was making trouble. The same Reb Shmuel Munkus that was making trouble earlier is the same. It was the same guy. He was Oren Be'ida. So Agav Urche, if you're going to be making shticks on in the Beis Medrash and Tisha B'av, which is fully expected that in private, in the middle of the forest, you're doing what Reb Shmuel Munkus is doing. So if you're not doing in private what Reb Shmuel Munkus is doing, so if you do, it's a l'shitase. If in private you're doing what Reb Shmuel Munkus is doing, you're bawling because of the Churban Beis HaMikdash. Then in public, do shtick, but it has to be on the same. Anyway, back to the Ruzhina. Not to go to neither extreme. No, I'm saying you could go, but you should do both. If you do one, you should do the other. So they did the shtick, and never, mamish to their bad luck, Rabbi Yisrael Ruzhin himself. I mean, you're talking about Yisrael Ruzhin, the Rebbe of all Rebbes. Today, half of maybe a quarter of all Chassidish Rebbes, the Yichus goes to Rabbi Yisrael Ruzhin, who is a grandson of the Heilige Maggid of Mezrich. So he walked in, and they did. There was already people started, but it was too late, and they pulled him up, and he went like bouncing, and they said, they started asking Mechila, and Rabbi Yisrael laughed, and he said, "Rebbeinu Shlomo, Yidden will nicht der Yom Tov. Nehm es zu von sein. The Yidden don't want this Yom Tov, so take it away from them." Okay, so the person that another Shaila, if someone asked a Shaila about giving, he's going on vacation right after Tisha B'Av, so now he forgot to put his stuff into the cleaners, and he's going mamish the morning after Tisha B'Av. He's going on vacation. So what should he do? So let's read the third paragraph here. So the Rama says, "Osar litin kelim lekeveses goy lechabes merish chedesh ve'elach. Koydem rish chedesh mutar los afish keveses acher rish chedesh." You're not allowed to give to a goy to do your laundry if it's already rish chedesh. Again, it's the Rama, because that's the minig Ashkenazim, 9 days. The El Yerabba says, "Afilo amar lechabes acher Tisha B'Av." It doesn't help. That's the Magen Avraham says. The El Yerabba argues that that you're allowed to be made. The that us doing kibbutz is also medin, but giving it through a goy is only the minig that it's awesome. And now he's that just like Cholamoid, we say if you give it to him and tell him to do it after Cholamoid, it's mutter. So the Yerabba says you're allowed to, that you're allowed to go to the goy and give him the stuff to clean and tell him that he should do it after the 9 days. Now, look, that's what he has to do. He has to. That's the most he can be making. I told him he should go to the cleaners, to the goy, and give it to him and say, I don't need it Monday morning. You can bring it me Monday night. It's fine, because I'm Jewish. In 9 days, whatever. Lapoil, the guy is not. The guy can pull him. The guy's not going to put him. There's a number on the thing, whatever. When it's a number to do it, when he's going to come there, 9 o'clock Monday morning, it's going to be ready. But machnushtois, huh? I don't know. The guy didn't. He asked me a shayla. I tell him what to do. So this is the best I could tell him. Okay, so these are the few questions that I got about the 9 days. Let's talk about a second thing, which is talking about this coming Shabbos. Let's talk about the Shabbos. We'll go through a few of the things of the Shabbos. There's a machlokas Shulchan Aruch. It's a machlokas Rishonim if you need to keep Dvorim Shebetzina on the Shabbos. Avelis Shulchan that Amos says you have to keep it. What is Dvorim Shebetzina? So really, it's Tashmish Amita. That's the one tangible thing. The Gra disagrees. When the Mishnah Berurah says that the bottom line is that if a woman has Leil Tefillah, that she went to the mikveh that night, so the person should follow the Goen and follow the Mechaber and yet to have Tashmish Amita. But if it's a regular night, then that follow the Ramah, which passes like the Rishonim, that Dvorim Shebetzina, that you have to keep Dvorim Shebetzina. In a way, it makes sense. If you say that it's really this Tisha B'Av, and Lamai, we pushed off the actual fasting to Sunday, so it makes sense that you should have to keep the Dvorim Shebetzina. Okay. So you have to keep the Dvorim Shebetzina.
And what about the Halachos?
No, just Tashmish, not the Halachos, just Tashmish. Yeah, just Tashmish. We're not allowed to learn from Chatzois. So there's a big shakla b'taya about it. The Rebbe spoke about it so many times. Shabbos. So really, it's a problem because Shabbos afternoon people love to learn. Yeah. It's a machaya, so some people take a nap a little bit, but then it's a machaya. You can learn. It's a day to learn. So the Rebbe says there's a shakla b'taya. The Rebbe the Rebbe spoke about it many, many, many times because the Rebbe used to fabrein. If it was a Tisha B'Av like this piece, he used to fabrein. But still he was uncomfortable. The Rebbe always mentioned that there's a machloikus about this. What's the machloikus? The Birkei Yosef says that if there's a shir kavua that you have Shabbos afternoon, now you're not going to learn. So there's no ein lecha avelus gedolim mizu. It's not that you're displaying avelus. Why is the shir not going on? Tisha B'Av. So You're making a big tzimmus from Tisha B'av in the Shabbos. You're not, it's Vahesya. You're not allowed to do that. It's basically a machloikis and poiskim achroinim. Steichemet has a whole, some say this way, some say that way. So, for example, what should be the minig? Minig in Chabad is that we say Pirkei Avos the whole summer. Should you say this Pedic? You should not say the Pedic. The Rebbe was never machriya. The Rebbe said, I don't want to be machriya in this. So it sounds like that the Rebbe did say it privately, because just if you read between the lines, it sounds like the Rebbe did say it privately, but still, in publicly in 770, what they would do next Shabbos, like this Shabbos, those that say Pirkei Avos would say Pei Gimel, right? So the Rebbe would say it, but next Shabbos he would say Pei Gimel. Kilu last Shabbos, so
You did the Gimel Daled,
no. Next, that's at the end when you bunch it up. So
So we don't say.
Lamaisa, so everyone does. So a person, there's certain shiurim that a person has in Shabbos. Alpidim really should be only learning after Chatzos, the Medrashim
Is there
that
any
talks about the
prohibition
Churban.
about certain things on Erev after Friday afternoon or something? or-
No, it's 9 days. It's the same like the 9 days. It's paket. Shabbos, those that go to mikveh, If you clip your nails, you can clip your nails.
Which has been in the daily time portion before Chatzos.
So let's talk about chitas. So chitas will go into this question. The Rebbe put into the Rambam thing in the bottom that you should learn it before chatzos. Okay, that's lachatchila, but there's the limit of what you could do from when you
Especially
wake
if
up.
davening starts late.
Right,
Wow.
there's a limit. Right, so there's a limit
One
of
thing
what
if
you
you're
could do.
davening days.
Right. So I would say it's a dava that if you're not gonna learn it, you're gonna be behind, and then Sunday also you can't learn in the morning. So you can rely on those that are makel to finish off your shir that's kavua that you have every Shabbos. You're behind in this shir kavua and that shir kavua and that shir kavua. At some point when you get so behind, so we could rely on, since this is a shir kavua, not to be mevatel that shir kavua and to learn, finish off your chitas, your Rambam, your Gemara, your regular
Whether
shiur
it's as a
makvun.
yachid or as a rabbi.
Right. That's what I'm saying. But otherwise, you have to learn. You got to learn the things that are about Tisha B'av. The Gemara in the Gittin that talks about the Churban, the Medrashim in Eicha Rabbah, and for that you can buy a book in Eichler's that'll
Yeah, the thing is like, I've gone over it so many times. I know about contract. It's very hard to study it.
to study it again. I know it's not a lot.
Before you even read it,
You know the whole thing already. I know it's true.
I mean, it's hard. No questions.
Yeah. Okay. This year usually we do it in the Sudas Mafsekes before with the egg and the ashes. This year we don't do that because of Shabbos. But still, we're doing Sudas Mafsekes, which is Shalosh Shudas. Interesting question. There's those people that like to take some type of pills to help them fast. Now, if you don't want to take a pill, there is our own our own Benzi Chanowitz, that he has other things, other ways to put into your body caffeine, and he'll put in for their Tylenol and alle gute Sachen. But some people don't like that, so they'd like to take it this way in the pill, but that you can't take on Tisha B'av. You take it before.
Intravenous would be mutter?
I'm not talking about intravenous.
No,
It's mutter. I'm talking. Benzi makes suppositories. If you like, he'll give you he makes it homemade,
All right.
and he has inside caffeine and Tylenol and another few good things. Everything is in it. Oh yeah, but there are others that sell pills. The same thing. Instead of all this Meshigan Azachem, so nasal spray on Shabbos you can't. It's problematic. I spoke about it if you remember in the beginning of this year. But on Tisha B'av it's not a problem. But on Shabbos, but you want to take the pill, so you could be Michael. I mean, the thing is that anything which is Michael Bream, which is the truth is, what is this pill? It's caffeine. What's in there? Caffeine. Well, the most of it. They put in a little bit more if you want a little bit of Tylenol. They put in a little bit of Tylenol. You want vitamin C. I don't know, whatever. I don't know what they put in. The different people have different recipes of what they essentially. Most of these pills are Michael Bream. So it could be Michael. So if you rely, that's Michael Bream, vitamins, a kolchkin, you should be relying. So the same thing. It's not kolchkin. Okay, if to make sure to finish eating before Shkiyas Achama, look at the calendar. I think it's 8:05. And but the taking off the shoes and the changing it, that you wait till Shabbos is out, which Chabad we do 42 minutes. It's 8:51. We're gonna daven Ma'ariv a little later in Beis Menachem Mendel, but Lepoel we're still gonna end up davening Ma'ariv at 72 minutes, but it doesn't matter. The Chalitzas Me'olim you could do after, basically when Chabad is it's 8:51 is considered that Shabbos is out. You could that's when you sit already on the ground and you change your shoes. Okay, so this is about Shabbos. Let's talk about the third question, which is what we do this year different because the fast is on Sunday. So the main thing is that to remember is that you have to eat Havdalah. You have to make Havdalah before you eat. There's no candle and there's no besamim, but there is Havdalah. Now, if you're in shul, a few things to remember is that if they're making Havdalah, you should have in mind not to be yotz if you have to go home and make it for your wife. You should also tell your wife that if just like a regular Havdalah, there's room to be makel to drink before Havdalah. So if she doesn't want a white, she should at least start drinking a little water and coffee before you come home. You could also tell her if she wants, she can make her own Havdalahs. But women have a hang up about that. Don't forget about that. So your own Havdalah is the same like last night. Those that are give it to a child that doesn't is young enough that he doesn't know about being Masabel for Yerushalayim, but is old enough that you have to mechanech him for brachas. But Lamaisa, the Shulchan Aruch, the Mishnah Berurah says that you can drink it yourself. It was in 770 we saw that they didn't makbid to find the child. They saw before that the Rebbe wasn't makbid that. The Mishnah Berurah says you could drink it and that's it. So the kids, so you make Havdalah on wine. Now the emes is the minig because this year it's already a Nidcheh. You're allowed to do everything and ready matzah. Yeah, besides eating meat and drinking wine, that the minig is not to do until the next morning. Everything you can do already from that night.
Says that you're not making Havdalah before when it's still the end of the day.
Right.
So I know it says that when 8:04 make Havdalah without the.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say one interesting, just because we're talking in Bichs and Enen. If when you're making Havdalah on wine, you should know it patas shor mine mashke. So if you have a hergel, which is a very good thing, because we once spoke to the Lomdus knowing about that when you finish Havdalah, you right to make ala geffen. Okay, because you always do it, because it could be all kinds of shilas if you don't, including that you might forget to make anything you don't make a bracha achrona right away. If you don't get into the habit of making a bracha achrona right away, it's you end up not making the bracha achrona. So if you're hagel, so is otherwise if you didn't make an ala geffen because you're hungry and thirsty, so you just have to keep in mind you can't make a shahakal afterwards on a drink because you read yain is pointer kol mine mashkin. Okay. So to summarize, we spoke about the things in the 9 days. We spoke about the Shabbos. We spoke about the special thing of what we do after the fast. There's a word from the Rebbe Marash. The Rebbe Marash was the kvius of this year that the fast was a Nidcheh, and it was near Tafresh Mem 1880, and he said Halavai zal Nidcheh sein be'emes. And there's a whole sikha of the Frierdiker Rebbe where he says that came to Alonu. And we should Yavku Yamimel. Whatever he say, it's time. The Rebbe has a biur nifla on this, on these words of the Rebbe Marash. The Rebbe brings it. The Gemara says it was a machloikis between Rebbe Chacham and Dafhei Megillah. Rebbe said, the Chacham said, you push up the fast to Sunday, and Rebbe said, "Hoil the Nidcheh Yedocha," because we pushed up, forget about the fast altogether. The Rebbe has a biur nifla. The Rebbe has a biur nifla on this machloikis. The Rebbe says like this: we say that these days will be Yehavku, L'Sos and Simcha, Yom Tovim. What do you mean Yehavku? If there's no Mechurban, so the day has no value to it. So the Rebbe says like this: that there's two parts of a fast. There is the part of the fast which is the fasting, the difficult part of the fast, but that's not the yesod of the fast. The yesod of the fast is it's a Yom Rotz, because it's a Eis Rotz. The Yid wants to do tshuva. How do you do tshuva? For most human beings, the best way to start doing tshuva is to fast. So then you realize it's a special day. But the emissaries we have, Chassidus has a whole thing about Yom Kippur, that Yom Kippur, Chassidus has a whole koch that Yom Kippur, a person should not that the din is you're not allowed to eat and drink. You have to feel pleasure. You have to feel pleasure from fasting. The pasuk says Lachayosim bara, but like Malachi Ashoras. You think Malachi Ashoras walk around like this all day because they didn't get to eat breakfast? Forget it. That's their whole chayis. So because we're Malachi Ashoras, we have to try our best on Yom Kippur. It's very hard. So, I mean, maybe for the Rebbe, but the Rebbe mentioned it always before Yom Kippur. We're like Malachi Ashoras that I hope we have a chayis. Not only we're not hungry, but we feel the pleasure. Yeah, but the elik can start feeling the pleasure.
No, what I mean is when the whole secret says Hashem Elokeinu,
That's
there is a
certain thing. So you keep that in mind. Anyway, the Rebbe says like this: every fast, there's two parts of the fast. There's the part of the fast which is Eised Otzim, and there's the part of the fast which is you have to fast. So this is the machlok. So now what happens when it gets Nidcheh? It's not mistaber that the Eised Otzim part of Tisha B'Av is Nidcheh. The fact that it's Eised Otzim, and Chazal say that the Yid in the Medrash says that Gosa Parosoi of the Aravi, and he said, oh, there's a Churban and Gosa Parosoi. Second time Mashiach is born, and we say Nachem by Mincha because Mashiach is born. This whole idea of the Eised Otzim that's in Tisha B'Av, the Eised Otzim that's in the fast, that doesn't get pushed away. The Frad, if you hold that really the Tisha B'Av is Tisha B'Av, just the fasting gets pushed away. So, but be it as it may, that doesn't get pushed away. The Eised Otzim that's on that day, the fasting part gets pushed away. So what happens on Shabbos that we're eating? So there's two ways of looking at it. There's the story of the Baal Shem Tov, that the Baal Shem Tov took his Talmidim and she showed him through the window that there was a Yid that was sitting with a Shtreimel. Today Shtreimel is associated to Minik Chassidim, but that wasn't the case back then. It was sort of Eastern European Malbush because the noble people used to wear something similar to that. So the Yidden used it as a beged Shabbos. So that was a Minik to wear it as a beged Shabbos, a Shtreimel. Probably Shtreimel in the days of the Baal Shem Tov 250 years ago was not nearly as fancy as the Shtreimel. If you look at that Shtreimel, today's Shtreimel, you wouldn't even know that this is what's called a Shtreimel, but something furry on his head, and at Gegessen with unbelievable chayas. And then the Baal Shem Tov told them to close their eyes and to hold hands with him. And all of a sudden they saw something else. They saw a shoyer, Shtreimel loy nishtan. They saw that he was a shoyer, he was an ox, because he so got into the eating that when a person eats like that, so he becomes like the food. So he was eating meat, so he became like the bull. V'ashtreimel is the beged Shabbos. So hu nishtana l'tzuras shoyer, v'ashtreimel loy nishtana. Shtreimel, the Shtreimel did nothing wrong. Shtreimel was a beged Shabbos, was a kedusha. But because he went in, dug into the meat, so he looked, they could see the Beruchnis, he's looking like a shoy. So the Rebbe says, so now we have so like this. So really in Shabbos, the Rebbe said like this, and the Rebbe's L'shitos, the Rebbe says, Lo nenem oilam hazeh afila, he said before he died, afila etzbak tana. Tosfos asked, what do you mean? He had, this table was always breakfast. You had lamb chops for breakfast in the Rebbe's house. So Tosfos says this, that, but the Chassidus, the answer is simple. There were chops and everything, but he was loinen. He never ate it like an ox with a shtreimel. The Frat Shabbos Achila Bahim was, it's as if his body was fasting. It's only his neshama was being nana. Only his neshama was being nana. He ate, but he didn't enjoy it like me and you enjoy a steak and a piece of bread. His body had zero hanoah. It was only tainug of Shabbos. It was only tainug of Shabbos. So so Rebbe says, why do you need to fast? You already mekayim on Shabbos, everything. It's Eised Otzim Shabbos, it's Eised Otzim Shabbos. Fasting through eating a Shabbos is as good as fasting. The eating of Shabbos is good as fasting. What the Chachomim said, don't you remember the story of the Baal Shem Tov? For you, Rebbe HaKadosh, it's good. When you eat, the Kedusha Shabbos is not only in the Shtraimel, but it's from head to toe. But most of us said Rabbanon, sometimes we eat in Shabbos and the Shtraimel is like Nishtana. But we are Yenishtana. So we're missing out on the fasting part of it. So therefore they said that you have to fast on Sunday. So that's what the Rebbe Marash meant. Halavai zal Nidcheh Chaverim be'emes, that halavai, that our avodah should be like a Rebbe HaKadosh. The only reason why the Rabbanan argued, they said you can't expect that people should eat on Shabbos, on Tisha B'Av, that my body is not enjoying anything. I'm eating basar shaman, v'yayin yosham, I'm eating the best foods, but I'm not nena be'etz b'ktana. It's all Kedusha Shabbos. And it's as if lachyoisam barov. My body is not, it's like I'm fasting. You can't expect that from most Jews. But the Rebbe Marash says, Alavai zal Nidcheh ve'em be'emes. He was using the words of Rebbe HaKadosh. Hol v'nidcheh yedoche. Alavai, that our avodas Hashem should be that way. And for this, the Frierdiker Rebbe was moist. The Rebbe is medaik so much in the words of his Rabbeim. And for this, the this is my father who says, Abroche v'natzadik vert mekuyim. So first thing is Alavai as be'emes means that our avodas Hashem should be as high as Rebbe HaKadosh. And then the Frierdiker Rebbe says Abroche v'natzadik vert mekuyim, that we should do it taka, and it should be neskayim. And then he was moisiv that the Yehof Kulasasam Simcha the taka, that not only in avodas Hashem but be'emes these days should turn into be like the pasuk says in Zechariah, Yehof Kiyamamelu. That Koyam Hashem Tzvah, Zum Revi, Zum Chamishi, L'Shalom Simcha, L'Moyedim Toivim, Emes Shalom Ha'avu, that it should be Nidcheh be'emes. They shall help them that the Shabbos, and both parts should be Neskayim. The first part that we should be able to feel a drop of this, that not only the Shtraimel our big day Shabbos should be Shabbos, that also us. That the good part of the fast should be utilized in a special way, these alus and the iserotzen, and even the fasting part of it, like Rebbe, should be that our pleasure of Shabbos should not be a body pleasure, but be a neshama pleasure. And then taka should be the second part, that we should taka, that this fast should be dislodged, and it should be sosam asimcha ma'adim tovim avias Mashiach tzedkein.
Oh, I'm sorry. What do you ask? Yeah. So like taste to say even though we're not like everyone else. Yeah, that makes sense. We got 50 and you're just 8:30 and everyone else is done with that. And stay the pleasure. And that is okay. Whenever she is.
Just turn on the road to daven. You can't say that's what the Rebbe says. You can't. No, it's important to learn about it. We have to know where it needs to be. But from a Zaydah.
It's like this, a lot of
Yeah. Right. That was their Shneimel. Yeah, that was their Shneimel. They were very small. They didn't have so much. They took as much as they could to Genate, and they macht a kayam on the top. The time of some Soviet, you told me, unbelievable. Shkoyach for joining us. Tonight we're learning a terrific Sikha. And that connects to the 9 days about the edits, about the Ori Miklat and about Mashiach days. Please join us. Tzlocha.